D-Day, The Invasion of Normandy, Operation Overlord by Trisha, Oveny, David, and Protham and Chevalier.
In May of 1940, the German forces invaded France and took control to expand the Nazi tyranny. Around late November and early December, Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin started discussing the cross-channel invasion. A couple days later, Churchill and Roosevelt decided to let General Dwight Eisenhower command this invasion. He had a code name for it, which was Operation Overlord. On March 31st was the day of the U.S. D-Day beach land exercise at Slapton Sands. This was known as Operation Beaver. This showed the lack of coordination between units.
Around that time, aircrafts also started practicing their landings. From May 3rd to 9th, it was the final rehearsal for the invasion of Normandy. This was called Operation Fabius. June 5th was the original date for the landings, but due to the fact of their bad weather, D-Day got postponed to June 6, 1944.
Operation Overlord was the code name for the entire invasion. However, Operation Fortitude was the code name for the protection of Normandy. We will explain this later. The battle between the Allied forces and the German forces was located near the northwestern French coastline of Normandy, France. Along the coastline of Normandy, the coastline was split up into 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword Beach. Omaha Beach was one of the most bloodiest beaches. Around 2,400 men turned up dead, wounded, or missing. Omaha was 6 miles long, the longest beach out of the 5 beaches.
Operation Fortitude was a code to trick the Germans to where the attack was going to be. This was led by George S. Patton, and he was in charge of the whole operation. He created the Phantom Army, where the Germans would keep thinking that the Allies were going to attack Pas-de-Calais, but really was going to attack Normandy. This gave the Allies an advantage. The reason D-Day occurred was because the Allies wanted to free France so they could get rid of the Axis powers.
Point du Hoc is a cliff around 100 feet tall. The American soldiers had to get over this cliff. However, the job wasn't so easy because they had to deal with the Germans trying to get them killed any way possible. Many people died during this attack, and the rest of them were able to take over Point du Hoc.
The landing included around 5,000 ships, 11,000 planes, and around 150,000 servicemen to fight in D-Day. Many lives were costed in this invasion. The goal of D-Day was to take back France from Germany, which was under Nazi ruling. The Allies wanted to surprise Germany with D-Day. It was a successful invasion, and it was one step closer to winning the war. And Normandy, the Allies chose Normandy because it was less easier to spot the Allies for the Germans, and the Allies also had to build an artificial harbor to let boats in. The leftmost picture is a picture of the invasion on Omaha Beach. The one in the middle is a picture of the preparation of D-Day, and the two on the rightmost are pictures of the plan of the D-Day invasion.
The importance of this battle was to free France, a major ally, so they can defeat the Axis powers and France can fight again. Can you?
You're not going to have less time to do it. Okay, are you done?
No.
How much you have left?
We just need to do one more person.
Okay, who's available in rock time to finish it up? Okay, you guys figure it out. I'll take my computer back, send Shafali to me to careful, that's mine. Go take it where you need to take it.
Trisha and David were gonna come.
Just wait in the hall.
What do you mean there?
Trisha and David, right?
Yeah, and Albany.
Albany's not coming.
Why?
You weren't supposed to come.
Really? Why are you? Oh.
He's just following.
I thought. No, Trisha told me I was supposed to come.
Do you have
Sure.
to do anything else?
Sure.
Okay. Go upload it.
I'm not supposed to be here.
No, you can stay.
No,
No, yeah, I don't
who's
know.
left to record?
Share it with me. You got it?
The importance of this battle was to free France, a major ally, so they can defeat the Axis powers and France can fight again. This battle was also a major turning point because it led us to winning the war and it stopped Hitler from gaining more power.
We dedicated this video to Sergeant Robert J. Nyland. He died during action. He volunteered to stay behind with 2 other men to hold off a German advance. He was killed while manning his machine gun. The other 2 men survived. He was buried at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial.
Well, D-Day was obviously the most important single fight of that war. And of course, had we lost it, there's no telling what the outcome would have been.
Since the American entry into the war, American generals had been agitating for an opportunity to fight the Germans directly. The D-Day invasion of Normandy in June 1944, represented the cutting edge of this offensive.
The essential condition that underwrote the success of D-Day was the fact that Germany had been bled virtually to death by fighting on the Eastern Front for several years against the Red Army in the Soviet Union before D-Day ever happened.
So the Germans had been preparing for this invasion as long as the Americans and the British had been, and they had been digging in. And they knew that they could inflict appalling casualties on the first units ashore. Well, somebody had to do it. And so the soldiers went, and indeed, those first units did suffer very high rates of death and wounding.
It's one thing to go on a beach with fan dunes. It's something else when you've got enemy on top of these bluffs. And for some reason, naval gunnery was either off or something went wrong there. They couldn't destroy those gun emplacements.
But eventually, the weight of the invasion took hold. The numbers of Americans, the numbers of craft, allowed the Americans and the British to establish a beachhead. And once they established a beachhead, then they could bring more and more soldiers and equipment ashore.
One thing I don't think either the Japanese or the Germans really counted on was what it meant to come up against a massive capitalist industrial power. The ability to build stuff on a massive scale with massive numbers was just something they hadn't really anticipated.
If you look back at the old photographs and the footage of that armada out there off the coast, I don't think they've ever assembled before or after anything like that.
Eventually, it was the technology, it was the weight of American weapons that tipped the balance. But at the very beginning, it was the soldiers, the ones who splashed ashore, the ones who knew that in the first wave, lots and lots of them would never come back. And those are the ones who made possible everything that followed.
The Rangers who went in first and the waves that came after them stood right up to it. There was more bravery that day than one can hardly imagine.
Thank you for